Hey everyone, figured I would do a video talking about the end of my build and the fact that I've finished the challenges for this league, and then maybe touch on PoE 2 in the next video. So the build I've been playing is, I'm just going to showcase you, is Tornado Shot. It's an Inquisitor, it's a Templar, and I've pretty much now, I've finished all the gear I realistically can get. I've really min-maxed it. It's done tier 17s, it's killed the Ubers. They weren't deathless, maybe it was player skill, maybe it was whatever, but we got all the content down, we did all the challenges. It's farming some tier 17s and it's feeling really good. It's a fun build, it's something different, it's something you can always work on because it's a stat stacking build, and I've enjoyed it. So the portal you're seeing on screen is of the 36 challenges. This league you get a weapon effect, which we can show you. It's a rune binder weapon effect. Looks like this. Now it might be a bit tough to see because we do have a golden bow. We are stuck in the flames here, but it's like a little blue kind of effect on it. Maybe you would be able to see it better on a different kind of bow, but I've quite enjoyed the how do we say it? Here we go. The weapon effect, there you go. You can see it looks pretty nice and blue. Obviously that's on a storm cloud, but it gets the blue effect. You've got the cloak, which is on the back, and you also have this decent looking portal, and the best for me this league is the finisher effect, and this is each time you kill a unique enemy, it adds this cool effect. Now I've not purchased, I don't really buy any microtransactions on these games, so everything I get is pretty much self-found, shall we say, or you know what I mean, like farm through a Twitch drop or the challenges. I did have a comment yesterday on my YouTube channel calling me a filthy casual and that I shouldn't ever speak on Path of Exile because you can see the finisher effect here. When I kill these 4 pods, you'll see the guys coming out to slash. You'll see them over here. And so when you're killing uniques, map bosses, I think it looks really cool. And there you go, just like these guys come out of the portal when I crack my own portal out. I think it looks good, and I think the MTX this league are solid. Definitely would recommend doing them, and I don't find the challenges this league to be really difficult at all, apart from, there you go, just to show you that finisher effect one more time, and then we'll run through the build. So you can see we're playing Tornado Shot, Mirage, Archer firing off, and for those tooltips we have 527 tooltip. PoB wise, what we're looking at is average projectile of 2.1 mil. However, to be honest, I don't actually think I've imported my new upgrades, which we got yesterday. We've probably got a little bit more now. 2.5. So yeah, we got some upgrades yesterday, and we have 2.5. So 15 mil combined average, and then you've got a totem in there. So maybe it's like 20 odd mil, maybe a little bit more. It's going nice. It's going nice, and let's run you through the build straight away. So, as you can see, we're a stat stacking build, and the main setup of this is not my doing. This is a Mathel build, which I tried out. This was from I think a couple leagues ago, and I figured I'd just try it. So the idea and the premise of the build is you have a Widow Hail, which doubles and then some more the bonuses from your quiver. So for example, because this quiver has 1 arrow, it gives me, if you can see, so if we go to, I think it might be offense, number of arrows to fire, 7. This goes to 4. So the bow giving me 1, this giving me 2. And then we have, so that gives us 3. So those are the main pieces of the build. Obviously, you don't need the extra arrow, but this is a min-max stat stacking build, so I'm just going to show you the gear I've got. It's giving you the 1 to 2 cold to fire and the 0 to 3 damage to lightning damage. Now, if you get a quiver, I think it's 236, 237, 238, one of those numbers, the lightning damage roll becomes 0 to 7, so you get a bit more damage. And yeah, that's kind of how it's working. We're stacking strength, dex, intelligence to make the build function. So you can see here we're doing physical, tiny little bit, fire, cold, lightning, firing 7 arrows. Now, price checks we can do all at the end, but for now we'll show you the gear. We have a Crown of Eyes, which is giving us reductions to spell damage applied to attacks, and then that syncs up with our passive tree. Strength damage applies to spell damage, which then becomes attack damage. So strength becomes attack. Now, the chest piece gives us Avian's Might. Avian's Might, if you look down here, it's a rotating buff. You can see it up here on screen. Every so often you get a chance to deal double damage, and then you get move speed. I think it gives 12. 14, sorry. So you have 12% double damage, 14% move speed. You can craft a level 21 of these, but if you use the Beast, the Black Morrigan, it will upgrade that and it will allow you to craft the Avian skill that is level 30. So the way you do that is you'll get the Avian skill guy in the bestiary, then you'll add the Black Morrigan, and instead of it saying level 20, it will now say level 30. So this gives us mana reservation, stats, all that good stuff. This is a good roll. I farmed it myself, as in I kept killing the beasts until I got the chest piece to drop, and it happened to have a really good roll. Now, the other main 2 key pieces of gear are the Cyclopean Coil, which gives % attributes and life, which granted isn't that fantastic. It's not unbeatable. However, it gives you 1% increased damage of your lowest attribute. And so when our lowest attribute is 1,000, it's giving us 200% increased damage. So this belt's very, very difficult to beat. And then the Crusader Shaper gloves are giving us life and strength, life and mana per dex and strength. And it's also giving us evasion rating. It's giving us energy shield. You can craft rare gloves with like the Temple Chill mod, with damage per dex on the implicit. You will lose some if we take a look. If I was to take these gloves off, 4k 3k to 4.5k 5k, so you do lose a big chunk of shall we say defense. However, you can kind of get away with it. You still have 74% evade. You could just go in here with a load of damage on some gloves if you wanted, but the reason I liked the build and the reason I'm showcasing it is because it's pretty simple to get up and running, and you can go as far as you want with it. So I played this build when I just had the quiver, the arrow, and the helmet, and these were like a few chaos each. Eventually, I upgraded to a 6-link, I upgraded to an arrow, I upgraded to an arrow, I upgraded then to better rolls of the resists because our resists get tight. But to begin with, I had a cheap 1C quiver, then I got a 1 divine one with an arrow, then I got a 1 with better rolls. This was 5 divines. This bow cost me 2 divines, genuinely, and then I 6-linked it with some tainted fusings. Now the price will pull up Awaken Trade, but you know, it's by the by really, to be honest. I started the build because it was cheap. It was at the start of the league. People aren't thinking about doing stat stacking at the start of a league. So the key information, we have and just some rings. So we also have an amulet, and this has a interesting little feature of tranquility, which means energy shield applies to spell damage, and then spell damage applies to attacks. So each energy shield roll is also giving us damage. So you can actually, technically, I suppose, stack % ES and get damage if you really wanted to, to go some hardcore version of the build with loads of ES and slightly less damage. It's potential. So the ring, these were some of the rings I was wearing. As you can see, they ain't even selling for 4 divine orbs. So I had one of these. It was Fractured Strength, which cost, I think it was like 5C at the time. And I put some essences on. It's not even tier 1 int. And then I did a Reforged Life, put the channeling skill on. Ideally, this ring would not have life. It would have channeling skill, but I'm too broke / worried to annul it, because then I'll have to make a new ring and I can't be bothered with that. So effectively, we were wearing these 2 rings to help cap our resists, and they're pretty much the same ring. One got wed on it, one didn't. And these were genuinely made in 50 chaos worth of Deafening Sorrow essences, and they haven't sold since. And I've put kind of a high price on them because I might change back to them at some point. I don't know, in case I brick this ring. So the skills that we're using in our chess piece, and then again I'll run through prices and the POB and all this stuff, because there's some interesting interactions with the jewels going on as well. Like the passive tree is not kind of a normal passive tree. So if we come to prices, the helmet, let's start with the helmet. Okay, this is a 1C helmet pretty much, but it has the cost reservation on it. That cost me 15 divines. This is now 9 divines. For the longest time, it had a level 3 Enlighten in it. Eventually, I purchased a level 4 Enlighten, which allowed me to drop this reservation node because I was min-maxing. So, you know, this is 20 div, but it had one of these in it, which was 70C. And it's a 10 div helmet. So you could call this a 30 divine helmet combo. The quiver, again, these aren't prices I paid, but yeah, this is 5 divine. That's basically what I paid for it. The amulet, I paid 15 divines for this. Now, if we go to trade, I imagine it's going to cost a little bit more. We'll just pull up sign in here. When we go to attributes and we go to 32% attributes, this is 50 div. Mine's got a little bit more crit multi. The way I purchased this was I purchased if you can see, a 14% attribute roll, and then I used Tainted Catalyst to upgrade the attribute modifiers. That's how I got it for cheap. Prior to this, I was using increase attributes and attack speed, because I lacked attack speed for a long time on the build, because I'm not running haste. Mathel runs haste. I just wanted to be a bit tankier, so I'm running discipline. And I didn't really find haste all that impactful with the move speed, to be honest. Anyway, so that amulet that I was running was 50 chaos, and that carried me for a long time. The main thing here is percent stats. That's your big one. The ring, again, how I bought this ring, it was 20 divine base. I spammed a load of essences on it, sorrow essences, till I got something that had, I think it was 3 semi-decent things to try and fracture. I put a fracturing orb on it. It didn't hit the int or anything. It hit the attributes on a different ring, but it was still useful, and we carried on crafting it, and then we just spammed essences and fossils and all sorts, fossil calculators, you know, when you deep dive into the sweaty aspects of PoE, but we got it done eventually, and there was some annuls. So what I would be doing is I'd be putting an essence on it. If I got 2 decent ones, I would then exalt, maybe a null exalt. It just took some time. It actually wasn't that difficult to make after making the fracture, but without the fracture, very difficult, I agree. And again, the rings I was using here were these, which carried me for a long time. And then we mirrored the ring with a Calandra's Touch, which is 5 div. The belt, we were basically, as you can see here, some failed copies. I think we bricked 4. So I farmed some temples myself. It was part of a challenge for the challenges, should I say. Made some temples, bricked a load of them, and they were about 50C to buy the belt. Put some catalysts on because I wanted to buy a good roll, obviously, and then I did some double corrupts, and so I did 5 double corrupts. It cost me about, let's say, 6-7 div, and then we ended up getting percent stats, which I think is probably, I don't know, to be honest, I've never actually price checked it. It could be more, it could be less. Who knows? 50 divine, whether it's actually 50 divine is an entirely different ball game. His is actually better on dex and int. So maybe it's 30 divines or something like that. Who knows? The boots were actually pretty fun to craft in a strange way. So we got an eye level, I think it needs to be like 85 or something for move speed. And we've had a lot of different boots on this build, but eventually what we were doing was we got one with a fracture. We then spammed essences of dex until we got tier 1 move speed and an open suffix. So sometimes I'd have to annul, sometimes I'd brick them. It was actually more awkward than you would imagine to get tier 1 move speed and have an open suffix and not have the others brick. And so I kind of messed up these boots in a way because I got the move speed and I just YOLO slammed, and I got hybrid, which isn't the worst, but if I was doing it again, I don't know what I'd do differently to craft, but they're not the most perfect boots, but they're pretty decent for what the build is. It gives me the life, gives me the move speed, and then obviously the open suffix, you just take them into the bestiary and then craft on the aspect. The fire res on the implicit, the 20 fire res is to help cap my resistances, and the chance to avoid poison is totally just accidental. I failed so many Orb of Conflicts, and because they went to Exquisite, I've just left it on there because I just thought, whatever, you enjoy yourself. And yeah, the fire res for the longest time was action speed, but after rejigging some gear, we needed resist because we got rid of this, which loses us 30 resist, and it was doubled, so we lose 60 fire res. So let's run you through the gems, links, and then POB. So discipline, grace, enlighten, purity of elements to cap us and make us ailment immune. The totem is totally flexible. Genuinely, if any bow people are in the chat and have any idea of what the best totem is, here's what I've been using. I just chucked on Culling Strike because I was killing an Uber boss that went horrifically wrong. Sometimes I'll put Hypothermia in. Sometimes I'll put Hypothermia in my main link. So Artillery Ballista, Ballista Totem, Awakened Ellie Focus, Volatility, Increased Crit Damage, and then I will normally put on Focused Ballista or some other skill gem depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I don't use Focus Ballista because I just want the totem to shoot whilst I'm running around. If the boss is pretty chill, then I'll use Focus Ballista for more damage. So the chest piece, Volatility, because we're doing so much lightning damage that we have to help the range out. So Volatility, Awakened Ellie, Awakened Chain, Increased Crit Damage, Mirage Archer, Tornado Shot, Mark on Hit, Sniper's Mark, Life Tap, and then I'm using Flame Dash. You can use Frost Blink. You can use whatever movement skill you want. And then Ensnaring Arrow, Mana Forged Arrow, Frenzy, and Power Charge. That basically means when you shoot, you'll flick out some other arrows that give you Power Charges and Frenzy. On the gloves, for the longest time, we had Crit Chance because our Strength and Int was a bit low and we couldn't cap our crit. Not crap our crit, but cap our crit. Now that I've got rid of that, which was yesterday, which I didn't even realize until someone told me, he was like, you don't need crit on your gloves. I was like, oh yeah, I don't. So I got a Frenzy Charge. These were 15 Chaos Orbs. You can check 15 Chaos, so they're worth nothing. And that's kind of it. And actually, if we plug into the POB, I reckon we do Tornado Shot. And if we put in Hypothermia, which is what I put in for my single target, you will see we are doing, drum roll, 3.5 combined 20 mil. So that's without the totem as well. So we are kind of cooking. Now, we've got the links. We've got some of the prices down. Main things, again, percent attributes. Now let's get onto the tree, the jewels, some weird stuff. So, onto the passive tree. We're an Inquisitor, so Consecrated Ground for regen, Consecrated Ground for damage, and then we have Crit Chance per Strength and Int, and then we also have, obviously, the big node, which is Crit strikes ignore monster elemental resistances, which is massive. I do believe you can craft that node on a weapon in the new league mechanic, but then you would also probably have to double corrupt and it gets a bit crazy, so I don't know about that. But there are power runes. I think you can put them on uniques. If you can't, then my bad. But there are some pretty crazy power runes this league. You could probably, to be honest, not do an Inquisitor and then get some crazy crits ignore pen. I don't know. There's some, anyway, the point is there's some stuff you can do. However, we basically we go through here and we're just stacking strength. This first duel here is not ideal. At the time, I needed dexterity, strength, and int. Well, now my stats are really, really high. And maybe I could change this to a corrupting blood immunity duel to help with, say, Cirrus. Or you could get an Emperor's, I think it's a mastery, which gives percent stats. Or you could put a really amazing beefy Watcher's Eye in with discipline, energy shield on hit, regen. You could put grace. You could put chaos res with purity of elements. You could run haste and have all kinds of haste action going on. This is not ideal by any stretch, but I made it and I've kept it. Then obviously we have Iron Will. We go through here, and the first awkward thing is I've taken this extra point for fire res because I'm lacking it. You probably won't. We have the Light of Meaning and the Unnatural Instinct combo, which means all of these nodes give +2 attributes, right? Because they're in this circle. They also give these nodes +2 attributes. However, the Unnatural Instinct means that you get the bonuses from the unallocated. So this gives us 38 attributes. You can read it. I won't bore you. It gives us a lot, and it's very hard to beat. These were, at the time, 7 divines. I think maybe even more. I think I may pay 8, and this I paid 2 for. These are much cheaper now. These are 30C and 1 divine. So maybe I could get a Corrupted Blood one. Maybe I could get a duel with something on. We go up here. This means we get cap spell suppression basically through this node. For the longest time, I didn't have enough dex to cap my spell suppression, so instead of this at Zeri's Promise, I was using a quartz flask. And to be honest, I probably now will swap this to a Dying Sun. Then we go through here. We have a Thread of Hope. You can get a better rolled one now. I didn't, because at the time they were very expensive, but now they're like a divine. And this gives us Blood Siphon. It gives us, it let me take these mana nodes. It gives us Finesse for Dex, and then we've got a Timeless Jewel, which allows us to allocate some cool stuff. Got the Reservation nodes, getting stats, traveling to stats. Here we took an extra Frenzy node when we hit level 100. Basically the same kind of jewel again. I'm sure I could make a better jewel, but it works for now. And then we have a cluster jewel, which has Fuel the Fight, so we leech mana and get some damage and attack speed. And then basically I tried to fracture it. I ended up fracturing Fuel the Fight. And then I think I just reforged speed over and over and over again until I got something decent. This has Chaos Res, which, I mean, you could get rid of the Chaos Res roll and use the Purity Watchers of Eye for Chaos. And then you could run, for example, I think if we take a peek, on Mathel's actual POB, which I believe is here, if I was to steal his Cluster Jewel, it would actually give me so much more damage. So his has 4 attributes, 8 strength as well. And in fact, if I go ahead and just show you that, and I go ahead and steal his Cluster Jewel, we can actually do the theory test. And I add that to build, and I put the Spirit Essence in. Oh, it's close, actually. Maybe because we now have so many stats that... But anyway, that's kind of the Cluster Jewel. So you can see it's giving us attack speed, Chaos Res, damage. Well, damage over time doesn't really matter, but it's also giving us damage. Some stats up here as well. We've also got Ghost Dance, and then the Timeless Jewel. So the Timeless Jewel has been swapped 3 times, I think. Depending on what nodes you find on your Timeless Jewel, I guess depends on what you allocate. This has attack speed and max life. It's not bad. I had this for a while, but I had to drop it to get me some fire res to cap myself, because it worked out my ring was better than that node. So mine has nothing on this node, but I'm using it for movement speed and attack damage. It's potential I could change it and look at a different Timeless Jewel. The main ones are 1 double damage node here, a double damage node there, flat strength, percent strength, and that is mainly it. There's also, double damage there, and there is a 30 strength node there. So really all this is giving us is 30 strength, and this is giving us attack and movement speed. So there's potential to remove these 2 nodes and put them into, I don't know, something else. Like, I suppose what I could do is do the PoB maths of taking out 30 strength, 5 movement speed, and then this fire res node, and then getting a dual socket there, getting 20 extra strength there, and then having fire res on a dual and some other stats. That's also an angle. And the thing with stat stacking builds is basically everything counts as damage. So as long as if you're getting, 10 of a certain stat, you're getting more damage. So you can pretty much go forever on this build if you want. For the longest time, I ran one of these that just gave 2 fire res nodes, so it gave me 40 fire res and 1% strength node. Now, originally, if you take, I don't actually know if I'll be able to show you this, but Mathel back in the day, his Timeless Jewel hit these 2 nodes as well. That has changed now slightly. It doesn't hit these 2 nodes, so you do miss out on 2 nodes. But overall, I think it's been a very, very fun character. And you can min-max it till your heart's content. Again, you can do things like put the Emperor's Mastery in, I believe it's called. One of these things. Could be a Viridian Jewel. One of these, right? Which gives percent stats. If we add that to build, you could do something like we're at 20.5. Well, if you got rid of these 2 nodes and you got rid of, say, that fire res node and maybe improved your fire res, you could then go and put one of these in. Then you're at 21. That's an extra million. Like, you can just keep going with it forever and ever and ever. Ultimately, I've really, really enjoyed the build, and it got me through all the challenges. I didn't pay for any challenges myself. I did them all myself. So it's, it's a build that if you're looking for something a little bit different, there's only, I suppose there's only one downside, is it's not the absolute craziest damage, but it's pretty damn good for how safe you are. I've mapped to 100 on this. And I just did breach, and also it does have the added bonus that you can, if you want, put a headhunter on. The headhunter gives stats, right? And that's what I did to level to 100. And you can see here, as we shoot out, we're getting the frenzy charges built up. You end up with 6 frenzy charges, 3 power, and we really start to get going. There might even, to be honest, be an option to get rid of power charge, because I think we're already crit capped, and I don't think power charges give us anything else apart from a little bit of spell damage. And so if we're already crit capped, we might be able to put something different in the Mana Forge setup. But you can see we can whiz through this. You have the rotating buff here, Avian's Might, and all this stuff. And it's decent, honestly. And then if you want to see the totems, you just kind of spam your totems out and then they rain down like so. So I'll leave it there. I'll put a POB in the description. For anyone actually doing the challenges, the most irritating challenge I just had to do was not fully upgrade the town, but I had to complete port requirements. And because my port is level 7 and I'd not done any port requirements, it was taking hundreds of thousands of iron and bismuth and everything to upgrade. So if you've not already done that challenge, I would do that challenge before you upgrade everything, because that's super awkward. Because as you can see, when you get to level 7, you have to do, say it says complete 30 port requirements. For example, this one down here, I've done 2, and I'd now need 56,000 of the other ore to complete it. However, those 2 don't count until you've done all of them. And so they were just it was taking a long time to upgrade things. 180,000 wheat. It just takes a long time. And that was the worst challenge, because I think I just messed up how I did it. Anyway, hopefully that helped. Probably going to do a PoE 2 video soon. Hopefully that explains everything. Any questions, just come by stream or import my character, or, hopefully I've covered all the grounds there. Take care. Have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe.